Okay, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Shikama Live Show. Your host, Shikama. Today's topic, the real reason we're trying to go to war or thinking about going to war or involved with Syria. I'm going to be quoting the New York Times and some of their articles about Syria, but there is a very direct reason why we are thinking about going to war and why we are gearing up to go to war in Syria. And it has nothing to do with anything humanitarian. The Assad regime was not, in fact, mass murdering his people. This is the same tired CIA list of reasons to go to war in a country that they gave in Libya, Iraq, Egypt, the Sudan. The list goes on and on. There's 12 points that they drum up, and one of them is that the person in charge is massacring his people. And it is always 100% a lie. I know you really think and you really believe that it's true. I am a State Department dependent. I'm a diplomatic dependent, or grew up as a diplomatic dependent. I know the truth. I know the behind the scenes. The Syrian president is not doing any such thing. He is not a dictator, and I will show you what's going on here. This is from one of the political think tanks. This question is addressed in a lead article by James P. Rubin, a Bloomberg executive editor and former State Department official under the Clinton administration. The article appears in this month's Foreign Policy magazine under the clear-cut title, "The Real Reason to Intervene in Syria." Of course, this is going to be a pro-intervention article. In an unusual twist, the answer to the question, namely the real reason, is provided in the article's subtitle, "Cutting Iran's Link to the Mediterranean Sea is a Strategic Prize Worth the Risk." According to Clifford D. May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a policy institute focusing on terrorism and Islamism, the humanitarian concern is not the primary objective, but rather as a means to an end. If the Arab League is unmoved by the massacres of Syrian women and children, their angry eyes fixed as ever on Israel, there, meaning the Arab League, supposedly it's trying to say that the Arab League is ignoring the massacres in Syria because they are all paying attention to Israel. And the Organization of Islamic Cooperation doesn't give a fig about Muslims slaughtering Muslims. Why should we Americans expend an ounce of energy? The answer, because Syria under the Assad dictatorship, notice the words, Assad dictatorship is Iran's most important ally and asset. And Iran is the single most important strategic threat facing the U.S. hands down. See National Review, May 30th, 2012. The military roadmap to Tehran goes through Damascus. The unspoken objective of the U.S., NATO, Israeli-sponsored insurgency in Syria is to destabilize Syria as a nation state and undermine Iran's influence in the region, including its support of the Palestinian Liberation Movement and Hezbollah. The underlying objective is also to eliminate all forms of resistance to the Zionist state. This is a real reason peace talks will not be held as well. The US and its European allies want regime change in Syria, and they are prepared to allow many more people to die to make it so. This was made clear by the Obama administration. The New York Times reports Syrian President Bashar al-Assad gains on the battlefield have called the United States strategy on Syria into question, prompting the Obama administration to again consider military options, including arming the rebels and conducting airstrikes to protect civilians. And the Syrian opposition administration official said on Monday, Obama is quoted as saying, Assad must go. Why? Rebels have been pushed back to the border. Why the border? Why not a Syrian village or a town? Is there something about the rebels that they can be pushed back to the border? That doesn't seem correct if it's a revolution, right? A rebel leader is quoted as saying, what can we, rebels, ask for when we go very weak to Geneva for peace talks? The Russians and the Iranians and the representatives of the Syrian regime will say, you don't have any power, we are controlling everything, what are you coming to ask for? And that's a very good question. If the Arab League or the Muslim League in the area is calling for peace talks, and the United States has to agree to save face, and the rebels then balked at the peace talks and said, no, we will not go, and the peace talk date came and went. Now, why is this? It's because the rebels aren't Syrian. Why are they being pushed to the border? They aren't Syrian. They are not nationals of that country. So what is the real reason that we're there? What could possibly be the reason that we would even care about Syria? Two things. And the two reasons apply both to Syria and Iran. I just want to make sure that you understand what is really going on. What is really going on? First of all, nobody believes that President Assad ever massacred his people. Nobody in the know, in the actual know, I'm not talking about sheep in America watching TV and being told what to think. I'm talking about State Department officials, State Department workers, embassy workers, what have you. Know that there is absolutely no truth to the propaganda against President Assad. The truth is, and President Assad was elected. He didn't take over a coup. He was elected. And they had, since we've been focusing on them, they had an election and he won the election again. And of course people are going to say, oh, well, he murdered people, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. So what is the real reason to take over Syria and consequently Iran? You ready for this? How stupid this is? It's because President Assad and his administration and his entire government is secular. They tolerate any and all religions. They're not the big Muslims that everybody portrays them to be or tries to make them appear. Iran is secular. Iran has Jews living inside of Iran. Syria has Jews living inside of Syria. Christians live inside of Iran and Syria in peace and have done so for over 500 years, something like that. Christians and Jews, Muslims. There's no truth to the matter of any atrocities going on. There's no truth about any weapons of mass destruction, I made a video on that. Obama came out and said that he had intelligence that President Assad was using weapons of mass destruction. It's absolutely false. And Obama committed airstrikes in Syria. Who did he kill? Did he kill the ever-imposing Assad regime military? No, he killed Syrian women and babies. Women and babies. Obama, President Obama, with the help of the CIA. This is the real second reason. They want to, second and probably the most important reason, the Zionist nation wants to take over the entire region. They are not focused on just Israel, just the West Bank. They're focused on the entire region. They want to take over the entire region. This is 20 years in the making. If you think that Iraq was 10 years in the making, this is 20 years in the making. Obama is just a puppet, just a cog in the grand machine of the Zionist ideology. I don't even know if it's an ideology. The people calling themselves Jews aren't actually Hebrew. They are not genetically tied whatsoever to Hebrews. They are white people. I know white people try and distinguish them, but they're white people. They're Germans. They're Polish. They're Russians. They're white people. There's absolutely nothing genetically different about them. And I have a report that said that 95% of the people calling themselves Jews on the planet today are simply Europeans. Okay, and that is the real reason that we are trying to go to war in Syria. Syria, of course, has good ties to Iran. They are a completely religious tolerant country. Now, there are some churches who are in the know, who are well aware of international politics, and they have done their research on Syria. And they are in Syria's favor. Why? Because they know that Christians have existed there for hundreds of years, and they live in peace in Syria today. There is no persecution of Christians in Syria, nor Iran. There was a conference not so long ago, a couple of years ago, of the Jewish rabbis in Iran that came out and did a little tour showing that Iran is not the Muslim monster that the West, Europe, and America tries to make them out to be. And in fact, they didn't know what the real reason was that they were targeting Iran, other than Zionism, which is reason number 2. The reason that the Syrian president is a thorn in the international community is because of Zionism. Because they are a secular regime that really is actually free. Now, I know I'm probably going to get flamed by some military grunt who doesn't know the time of day, who absolutely does no research, has no ties. I actually speak to ambassadors, email ambassadors, call up ambassadors that I used to know. And I asked them, I'd speak to them and talk to them. They're not going to give me any top secret information or any classified information, but they can give me opinions. And those are the opinions of my contacts. Anyway, I have given you some of my sources in this article show. So go look it up. Thank you once again for tuning into the Shikama Live Show with your host, Shikama. Good day.